Men, if you've ever found yourself obsessively thinking about a woman, working harder to win her attention, or feeling like you need to prove yourself worthy of her time, you weren't just experiencing natural attraction, you were responding to carefully deployed psychological strategies designed to make you chase. The most sophisticated women don't pursue men directly. They create conditions that make men desperate to pursue them. They engineer scarcity, manufacture competition, deploy strategic unavailability, and weaponize validation to turn confident men into eager pursuers. Today, we're exposing 6 hidden strategies women use to make you chase them. And once you understand these tactics, you'll never be manipulated into desperate pursuit again. Before we dive in, hit subscribe, smash that like button, and hit the hype by dropping a comment if you've ever chased a woman and realized later you were responding to manipulation rather than genuine mutual interest. Your recognition might help another man avoid the same trap. Strategy 1. Strategic scarcity, making her attention a rare prize. This strategy creates artificial scarcity. She withholds her time, attention, and availability to appear high value and trigger your pursuit instinct. She knows humans chase what feels rare, so she becomes busy, slow to respond, and hard to reach. Her attention becomes a prize you're conditioned to earn. It works because scarcity equals perceived value. The less accessible something seems, the more effort people invest to get it. By controlling access to her time, she positions herself as the selector while you compete for limited attention. She'll claim she's constantly busy, exaggerate obligations, or delay responses even while active online. When you're most eager, she becomes least available. When you pull back, she suddenly reappears. Proof the scarcity is strategic, not real. Her stories reinforce the illusion. Everyone wants my time. I barely have free moments. This framing makes you feel lucky when she grants you a slice of attention, deepening your emotional investment. Over time, this creates a power imbalance. Her time becomes valuable. Yours becomes expendable. You chase, she evaluates. You seek access, she dispenses it. The psychological mechanism is simple: value through restriction. By rationing access, she triggers pursuit and keeps control. The long-term effect is dependency. You stay in chase mode, always proving your worth, never questioning hers. You stop evaluating whether she deserves your effort because she's trained you to believe her scarcity means she's worth it. Strategy 2. Manufacturing competition, making you fight for position. This strategy involves creating perception that you're competing with other men for her attention, whether or not actual competition exists. She mentions other men interested in her, maintains visible connections with ex-partners, posts social media content designed to attract male attention, and ensures you're always aware that you're not her only option. This manufactured competition activates your competitive instincts and mate-guarding behavior, intensifying your pursuit as you try to win the competition. The strategy works because men are inherently competitive, especially in mate selection context. When you perceive other men as threats to your access to a woman, evolutionary psychology kicks in. You pursue harder, invest more, and work to distinguish yourself from competition. She doesn't need actual competing suitors, she just needs you to believe they exist. Notice how often she mentions other men. Does she casually drop references to guys who are interested in her, compliments she receives, or attention from admirers? These mentions aren't innocent observations. They're strategic signals designed to make you aware of competition. Pay attention to her relationships with ex-partners. Does she maintain active contact with exes and ensure you know about it? Does she compare you to previous partners or mention things exes did that you don't do? This keeps former romantic interests as active threats in your mind, intensifying your competition anxiety. Watch her social media behavior. Does she post photos designed to attract male attention? Does she engage publicly with multiple men in flirtatious ways? Does she showcase attention she receives from others? This visible proof of other men's interest creates real-time competition you can observe, which intensifies your pursuit. Listen to how she talks about her dating life. Does she emphasize that she has options? Does she mention other dates or opportunities she's considering? Does she make sure you know you're not the only man pursuing her? This transparency about alternatives isn't honesty. It's competition creation, designed to make you chase harder. Notice whether she seems to enjoy your jealousy and competitive behavior. Does she smile when you show mate-guarding tendencies? Does she seem pleased when you demonstrate possessiveness or work harder to win her attention? Positive response to your competition anxiety reveals she's deliberately creating it. Check whether the competition is real or manufactured. Can you verify these other men exist and are actually interested, or are they conveniently vague references to unnamed admirers you can't confirm? Unverifiable competition is often entirely fabricated to manipulate your behavior. Watch whether she creates comparison scenarios. Does she point out other men's strengths in ways that highlight your perceived inadequacies? Does she use other men as standards you're failing to meet? Comparative competition makes you work to measure up to benchmarks she's setting. Listen to whether she ever reassures you or consistently maintains competition anxiety. If she never provides security, but always keeps you uncertain about where you stand relative to other men, the uncertainty is a strategic tool to maintain your pursuit rather than unfortunate situation she'd prefer to resolve. The psychological mechanism is activating competitive drive and mate-guarding instincts through perception of rivals. When you believe other men want her and might win her if you don't compete effectively, you pursue more intensely to secure the prize before competition does. The competition doesn't need to be real. Your belief that it exists is sufficient to trigger the behavioral response she wants. The long-term impact is relationship characterized by ongoing competition anxiety, where you never feel secure and constantly work to maintain position against perceived rivals. You remain in pursuit mode because you never achieve secure attachment. There's always competition to fend off, always other men to worry about, always need to prove you're the best option. This perpetual competition, whether real or manufactured, keeps you chasing and prevents you from ever relaxing into secure relationship where pursuit phase has ended. Strategy 3. Intermittent reward, creating addiction through unpredictability. This strategy involves providing intermittent positive reinforcement rather than consistent validation, creating psychological addiction through unpredictability. Sometimes she's warm, responsive, and affectionate. Sometimes she's cold, distant, or ignoring you. You never know which version you'll get, which creates obsessive focus on figuring out how to trigger positive responses and avoid negative ones. This unpredictability makes you more addicted to her attention than consistent positive treatment ever could. The strategy works because intermittent reinforcement is most powerful schedule for creating compulsive behavior. It's the same principle that makes gambling addictive. Unpredictable rewards create stronger compulsion than predictable ones. When you don't know if she'll respond positively or negatively, you become obsessed with pursuing the positive responses, which gives her enormous power over your behavior. Notice the pattern of hot and cold behavior. Does she alternate between being very interested and seemingly disinterested? Does she respond enthusiastically sometimes and ignore you other times with no clear pattern? This unpredictability isn't moody personality. It's strategic inconsistency designed to create addiction. Pay attention to whether you can identify what triggers positive versus negative responses. Have you developed theories about what makes her interested versus distant, only to have those theories proven wrong repeatedly? The inability to predict her responses is the point. It keeps you constantly trying new approaches to unlock consistent positive treatment. Watch whether the positive responses are intensely positive. During good moments, is she incredibly engaging, affectionate, and everything you hoped for? These peaks need to be high enough to make the valleys worth enduring, which is why intermittent reinforcement includes occasional amazing interactions that keep you hooked. Listen to yourself explaining her behavior. Do you make excuses for her inconsistency? Do you blame yourself for the cold periods? Do you believe you can figure out the formula to make her consistently warm? These rationalizations keep you engaged with unpredictable dynamic rather than recognizing its manipulation. Notice whether you've developed obsessive behaviors around earning her positive responses. Do you constantly analyze what you said or did? Do you strategize about how to get her attention? Have you become preoccupied with figuring her out? This obsession is exactly what intermittent reinforcement creates. Check whether she seems to calibrate her responses based on your pursuit level. Does she become warm when you pull back and cold when you pursue intensely? This responsive adjustment to your behavior reveals she's deliberately using intermittent reinforcement to regulate your pursuit at optimal level for her benefit. Watch whether you're experiencing withdrawal symptoms when she's in cold phase. Do you feel anxious when she's not responding? Do you compulsively check your phone? Do you feel relief bordering on euphoria when she finally responds positively? These are addiction symptoms created by intermittent reinforcement. Listen to advice from friends who observe the dynamic. Do they point out that she's inconsistent and suggest you move on? Do they see the unhealthy pattern you're rationalizing? Outside perspective often recognizes addiction and manipulation that you're too close to see. The psychological mechanism is creating addiction through variable ratio reinforcement schedule. The unpredictability of when you'll receive positive response makes pursuing her more compelling than if she were consistently responsive. You become addicted to chasing the high of her positive attention, willing to endure extended cold periods for brief moments of warmth. The long-term impact is psychological addiction to the pursuit itself, rather than genuine relationship with the person. You're not pursuing her because she's a great partner, consistently treating you well. You're addicted to the unpredictable, intermittent reward she provides. This addiction keeps you chasing long past the point where you'd normally recognize the relationship isn't healthy or reciprocal. You're trapped by the same mechanism that traps gamblers, the unpredictable possibility of the next win. Strategy 4. Social proof engineering, making others want her so you will too. This strategy relies on social proof manipulation, making you believe she's valuable because others appear to value her. She surrounds herself with visible admiration, followers, male attention, high-status friends, curated photos, name drops, and constant reminders that she's desired. The goal isn't connection, it's perception management. It works because social proof shortcuts judgment. When many people seem to want something, our brains assume it's worth wanting. She doesn't need to prove substance, only to display demand. The image of universal desirability becomes her main credential. Her social media, social life, and conversations all reinforce this illusion. Online, she posts attention-baiting photos, tagged events, and admiring comments. In person, she subtly ensures you witness other men's interest. She highlights popularity and exclusivity, how everyone wants her time, triggering competition anxiety that makes you chase harder. Often the proof is exaggerated or fabricated, inflated follower counts, superficial acquaintances, staged compliments. But even false attention works if it keeps you feeling lucky to have her attention at all. The psychology is value through association. You judge her worth by the reactions of others rather than your own experience. Long-term, this breeds insecurity and dependence. You keep proving you deserve what everyone supposedly wants. The relationship centers on maintaining her image, not mutual respect. You don't love her for who she is. You compete for her because she's convinced you everyone else does. Strategy 5. Validation economy. Strategic rationing of approval. This strategy is validation control. Rationing approval just enough to keep you chasing it. She knows validation is addictive, especially from someone you desire, so she makes it scarce. You never feel fully accepted, only temporarily rewarded before the approval disappears again. It works because intermittent reinforcement is one of the strongest psychological conditioning tools. When approval comes unpredictably, you chase harder, hoping the next effort earns the next hit of praise. At first, she gives genuine compliments and enthusiasm. Then, validation becomes conditional. You're praised only when you comply, criticized or ignored when you assert yourself. The more you adapt to win approval, the more power she gains. Praise turns into qualified affirmation. You did well, but, or I'm proud of you, though you could have. Each phrase feeds hope while maintaining deficiency. You never feel done, you're always proving. When you pull back, she suddenly validates you, just enough to reset your motivation. When you grow confident, she withdraws approval to bring you back under control. Even comparisons, "You're not like X, he really listens," are tools to keep you striving for unattainable standards. Over time, you start basing your self-worth on her reactions. You hesitate to act without her approval, interpret silence as failure, and feel anxious when she's neutral. The result is psychological dependency. She becomes the sole arbiter of your worth. The mechanism is simple: control through scarcity of validation. By making approval unpredictable, she ensures continuous pursuit. The long-term effect is erosion of internal confidence. You forget what it feels like to feel good without her permission. You stop seeking growth for yourself and start living to earn the next brief moment of affirmation she'll ration out, just enough to keep you hooked. Strategy 6. The push-pull dynamic, strategic advance and retreat. This strategy is push-pull manipulation, alternating between warmth and withdrawal to keep you chasing what you can't quite reach. She draws you close with interest and affection, then abruptly turns cold or distant. When you back off, she reappears with attention and charm. The result is a constant emotional chase where you respond to her moves instead of your own needs. It works because people instinctively pursue what retreats and relax when something feels secure. By calibrating her attention to your investment, she keeps you perpetually off balance, pursuing when she withdraws, hoping for the return of the warmth she just took away. You'll notice she grows distant when you get close and affectionate when you start to detach. Any time the relationship begins to feel stable, she retreats. When you seem ready to give up, she advances again. You rationalize it as fear of intimacy or needing space, but the pattern is deliberate conditioning that links affection to anxiety. If you mirror her behavior, retreating when she retreats, she often becomes irritated, proving the goal isn't balance but control. The emotional cycle keeps you anxious, uncertain, and hyper-focused on her mood instead of your reality. The psychological mechanism is approach avoidance conditioning. You're trained to equate love with tension and relief, with her unpredictable attention. Over time, it creates chronic insecurity and dependency. You never reach safety or peace. You just keep chasing the next moment she turns warm again. A reward carefully timed to keep you hooked,